You may be seated, please. friends, we gathered together this afternoon to celebrate the life and to honor the memory of Richard Burk. I could certainly tell before we came forward here, seeing all the hugs and the handshakes and the arms around the mourners, just how important your presence is to them on this difficult occasion. Thank you so much for being here.
Mismoil David, Adonai roi lo echsa, Binot asher yalbitzeni al menuchot yanachani, Nafshi yishoveh, Yanecheni v'mad letzadek lama'an shemo, Anki helech b'gitzal movet, Lo yira ki hatay maldi, Shiftecha umishantecha hema yenachamoni, Ta'aruch lefanai shulchan neged surirai. Dishanta vashaman roshi kosir vaya, Ach tov chesed yudifuni, Hoyam bechayai, V'shaveti b'beit Adonai le'orach yamim.
Adonai ma'adam v'teva ehu ben enosh v'achashvehu. O Lord, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath, our days are as a passing shadow. We come and we go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, in the evening it fades and it withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, Return, you mortal creatures. Would that we were wise, that we understood whither we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright. They shall have peace. The author of the first of the Bible's 150 Psalms describes for us in language both poignant and succinct the nature of the good life and the fruits of that life. Happy are those who have not followed the counsel of the wicked, or taken the path of sinners, or joined the company of the insolent. Rather, the teaching of God is their delight, and they study that teaching day and night. They are like a tree planted beside streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, whose foliage never fades, and whose fruit always flourishes. Let's join together now in the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Kohelet, the author of the biblical book of Ecclesiastes, reminds us that for everything there is a season, a time for every experience under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. Richard Burk died the day before yesterday at the age of 94. He lived a long and eventful life, and those who loved and admired him will never forget him. Richard was born and raised in Cleveland. He graduated from Cleveland Heights High School and then went on to receive his bachelor's degree at Western Reserve University. In 1952, he enlisted in the Army and served for the better part of 2 years in Korea and Japan as a stenographer for two generals, Mark Hall and Mark Clark. And he evolved into a trusted right-hand man and personal assistant to each of them. For his exemplary service, Richard received a bronze medal. And while in the Army, Richard, by then an extraordinary musician, also entertained the troops on the side. When he returned to the States, Richard enrolled in the fabled Wharton School of Economics, where he received his MBA degree. From there, he went on to enjoy a distinguished career as a stockbroker, gathering a number of loyal clients, loyal because Richard's conservative and clear-eyed approach to investing yielded both financial gain and financial stability for his clients. Now, when I met with Richard's 3 children yesterday afternoon on Zoom, I asked them to describe their father's most prominent personal characteristics, and they responded with an effortless outpouring of his most conspicuous virtues. He was, they told me, honest, kind, patient, wise, talented, and fair-minded. Their father was, from his youth, an excellent musician, and he loved nothing more than to play the music he loved from the American Songbook and from the jazz music of one of his favorites, Max Waller. In addition to his musical proficiency, Richard was deeply philanthropic, contributing to many organizations throughout the years, to organizations including the Boys and Girls Clubs, the Cleveland Institute of Music, and the Cleveland Music Settlement. And his versatility and ease at the piano led to the following most interesting episode. It happened during the time that his family was celebrating his 90th birthday party at the Hyde Park restaurant in Beechwood. And during the musicians' break, Richard's family asked the lead musician whether their father might be able to take a turn at the piano. Of course, he said, yes. And so for several minutes, Richard played flawlessly and spontaneously for the diners at the restaurant. Indeed, even at his advanced age, Richard's hands were like those of a 25-year-old. It seems to me that Richard Burke's life revolved around 3 important essentials: his work, his family, and his music. In terms of his work, Richard's long career that ended only when he was 87 years old found him working for several investment companies. Throughout, he was devoted to his craft and to his clients. According to his family, Richard never took more than a week's vacation at a time because he loved to be at work. And he grounded his work on fundamental commitments to honesty and integrity, to common sense, and to devotion to his clients. And his children raved about his love for and commitment to his family. To his wife of nearly 68 years, Patricia, To his 3 children, Jim, Jody, and Kim, who remember with joy the many fascinating outings their father took them on when they were kids. As he told his caregivers, the happiest time of his life was when he was young and raising his children. And in turn, his children told me yesterday afternoon that they were singularly devoted to him. There was no limit, you 3 said, to what we would do for our father. And this deep love and respect that you had for him led you to do whatever was necessary to keep him in his own home as he aged, not only to preserve his cherished privacy, but also so that he could play his beloved piano at 11 o'clock or midnight or 1 o'clock a.m., if that's what he wanted to do. Richard also took pride in his membership as a 32nd degree Mason in the University Heights Masonic Lodge, a lodge which his father-in-law had started and in which 3 generations, including his son Jim, have all been proud members. And when Richard retired, he was able to continue many of the activities he had cultivated throughout his life, reading all manner of things, newspapers, investment journals, and annual reports, to read all day long if he wanted to, and playing the piano during the evenings, going to music events around the city, and attending Shabbat services at the temple most Friday evenings. Richard Burk is survived by his 3 children, Jody, Jim, and Kim, by his sons-in-law Michael and Jeffrey, by his grandchildren Jacqueline, Chad, and Olivia, Jonathan, Cole, Jessica, and Joe, and by his beloved sister Beverly, with whom Richard had a very special relationship, and with whom both of you spoke every evening. Richard is survived as well by his daughter-in-law Vivian and by Beverly's significant other Irv. He was predeceased by his wife Patricia, his granddaughter Lauren, and his brother-in-law Emery. The family especially wants to express their deep appreciation to Richard's wonderful caregivers, Clarice and Vanessa, as well as the several other caregivers who saw to Richard's every need. In addition, the family wants to thank Shelley and her daughter Melissa, owners of Home Helpers, who were most instrumental in hiring Clarice and Vanessa. Richard Burk lived a long and a richly lived life. He raised a fine family. He excelled in his vocation. He gained proficiency in the art of playing the piano, which gave him hour after hour of deep enjoyment throughout his life. And he contributed philanthropically to important community institutions. He was a humble person who respected people who admitted their mistakes, though I sense that he himself made very few of them. Zichrono Livracha, the memory of Richard Burk will always be our blessing. Amen.
Friends, Rabbi Klein and I had a plan that I would sing a piece from our liturgy at this moment, but after hearing what Rabbi Klein had to say and learning of Richard's deep love for the Great American Songbook, I've decided to make a little switch. Nothing too crazy, but a piece that I think has a similar message to what I would have sung. When all the world is a hopeless jumble and the raindrops tumble all around, heaven opens a magic lane. When all the clouds darken up the highway, there's a rainbow skyway to be found, leading from your window pane to a place beyond the sun, just a step beyond the rain. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dream that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh, why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I?
Beautiful. Thank you. Friends, as many of you may know, I have worked with Cantor Sibo now for 25 years. It's been a joy. There's been one hardship, though, for me. I have to acknowledge this. And that is the difficulty I feel often after she has sung a song like this one about how am I going to go on. But I manage to, sometimes haltingly. I'm glad now to welcome forward to talk about the life, the qualities, the accomplishments of their father, his daughters Kim and Jody.
Hello, thank you for all being here. I'm sorry you have to stand. If anyone wants to sit down on the grass, please do. I feel bad everyone's standing. I first wanted to start with what my Aunt Beverly wrote about my dad when he was the Mason of the Year. This is for my brother. Words could never fully express the feelings I have for my brother Dick. His character is flawless. His honesty and integrity are above reproach. He's generous, thoughtful, and so very kind to all who know him. He's a wonderful husband, father, grandfather, and he's my most wonderful brother. Being a Mason means a great deal to Dick, and he certainly lives up to the Masonry's highest standards. What an honor, and deservedly so, to be named University Heights Masonic Lodge's Mason of the Year. Dick, dear, you deserve the very best. I love you, and I truly wish you heartfelt congratulations. With love, your sister Beverly. P.S. How about showing off some of your talents, like playing some fat swaller? Your feet's too big. What a great guy you are. Okay. What do you say to depict my dad's 94 years? It's all in here, my heart. My heart is exploding. My heart is gutted. My heart is with you, Dad. From my earliest memories, and you may ask my husband, Jeff, I don't have a ton of early memories, but the ones I do have involve my dad, from taking me with him to collect for various charities at our neighbor's home. I can still feel him picking me up as a little girl. He told me, Kimberly, I want you to see how people react. And how, he didn't say the word cheap, but I recall that he would describe the reactions. My dad was so giving, philanthropic. He donated to every cause you may think of. It got to the point where his caretakers would have to intercept the mail because of it. He would buy all kinds of jewelry, necklaces, some a little gaudier than others, earrings, which I'm wearing, purses to give to me, my sister Jody, and his beloved caretakers. That encapsulates his never-ending generosity, always thinking of others. You might ask his caretakers. He always said thank you to them, to me, and would say, Kimberly, I'm so sorry to be a pain or to take you away from your family. I constantly told him I wanted to be there. I wanted to be with him and that there was nothing to apologize for ever. He took care of us now, and now we were there to take care of him. He moved slowly, and he would say, I'll get there next Tuesday. He would swear to himself. I never heard my dad swear growing up, but man, did I hear him talk to himself cruelly over the last few years. You big dummy, you, I won't even say. He hated that his body was failing him. He was hugely independent and wanted to be. I would say, Dad, let me help you. And he emphatically would say, no, I'll do it. He used to go to the temple for all holidays when we were growing up. And this continued until COVID. He loved to go to the Friday night services to sing and to listen to the sermons. He felt good going, he told me. Many were so kind to him, especially Beth Derry. We all live out of town, so Beth would come to see him and tried to get him hooked up remotely to watch services during COVID. He was delivered his favorite pea soup every month by the temple. He felt so much pride in his Judaism and again donated to so many of his religious causes. He wanted us kids to have the best educations. He sent me to Montessori when he saw that I needed that extra attention, and then to Halfway Brown. He was the force that paved the way for me to thrive and to have irreplaceable experiences that I've had. He took personal interest in helping each of us kids arrive at the most suitable colleges that would meet our specific needs. He told stories over and over about how he used Dr. Nozzle to lead my brother to Oglethorpe University and Jody to Elmira, then Alfred University in New York, and then me to UW-Madison. Woohoo! He visited us always and found unique outings. Every Saturday was his day to be with us kids. My mom would be getting her hair done. We would have tuna fish sandwiches at our grandma's, his mom, and then it was all fun plans for the day. From playing ball in parks, going to the big slide, going roller skating into the Jumbo Gym Park at Punderson, feeding the birds, they'd actually land in my hand. These memories are endless. Burton and maple syrup, and my dad telling the story of how Jonathan, my son, responded to being inside the log cabins where the maple syrup was being spun on the wheel. My dad loved telling this and saying how Johnny would say, it stunk. He used to wrestle us on the ground, and sometimes someone would always end up crying. He did this with my kids. My mom would say, Dick, stop it. But it was all in good fun. He loved being a father. His love, he lost his father when he was, I think, 56 or 57. My father had indescribable respect for his father. The phrases my dad used to say that his father said to him were taken in stride. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. He was so soothing. In HB, when I had so much homework, and my friends know I would do the homework a month before it was due, he would sit with me and say, okay, Kimberly, what's due tomorrow? What after that? He was such a calming force in my life, soothing, devoted, generous, or all of those he was. He was highly respected professionally and in his personal life. He had a quiet demeanor and class. The rabbi spoke of his time in the Korean War. We heard so many stories about this. He was so proud to be the stenographer, and his father, which is an interesting story, he had a man that worked for him that was a general or somebody big in the army, and my grandfather said to him, listen, I know my son has to enlist, but how can I keep him alive? And he then studied to be a stenographer. He had a lady friend in Japan, and my grandfather told him that if he didn't get home, he was going to come there with a shotgun. The piano. My dad was a gifted pianist and loved traditional jazz, Fats Waller. He and my mother would go all over to hear the music. In his coffin, we made sure that Dad had as many sheets of music under his arm and near to his heart. Carmela took him to see, one of the caretakers, Carmela, took him to see Ain't Misbehavin' in Cleveland. And then when my kids were little, he took us to see Ain't Misbehavin' in Chicago. My kids were the only ones who were under the age of 30. They were, I think they were 10, they were little, and they all knew the music. I think we were like the only white people in the place. But my kids knew that music. Johnny would say, my father would sing the song Caledonia, and he'd say, Caledonia, Caledonia, what makes your big head so hard? And Jonathan would say, yeah. My dad would search all over for whatever Jonathan's interests were, from finding penny loafers for him or old-fashioned pocket watches, history books he'd send to Jonathan, shirts, whatever it was. I have so many memories of my dad. He would love to go to the pancake house. I hope nobody's offended by what I'm going to share. When we went there often, there were people waiting in line or for a table with us, and some of them, had larger tushes, So my dad would lean in and whisper to me. He'd say, I think she had too many pancakes, and I'd say, Dad, stop. That's not nice. When my mom passed away, I feel he grieved through her illness. So when she did pass away, he looked for companionship. Sorry, oh God. He used to say, Kim, I would rather have lunch with a lady than a man. People told me that this was a testament to having had a good marriage. He wanted the company to continue. He and my daughter Olivia had such a special closeness. She spent much alone time here in Cleveland with him. They would enjoy ice cream together in quiet moments of pure love and peace. He would look at his caretaker, Clarice, with pure love and a feeling of safety during his final days when she would feed him. She knew just what to do. So many told us you should move your dad into a home, and he would love it. We held off, and at one point we were about to do this. I had him all packed and a mover set up. 2 nights before the scheduled move, it's about 1 a.m. in the morning, and I see my dad's lights still on. I went in there, and he's in his pajamas, and he's thinking. I'm like, Dad, what's going on? He said, you know what, Kim, I thought about it. I have enough money that I can live at home for several years. I really don't want to move. And I said, okay, that's it. He wanted to be able to play his piano at 11 at night. That's all he cared about, and he didn't want to disturb anybody with the noise. He loved his routine at home. He would wake up at 10, wash up, get dressed, take his electric chair downstairs, adjust the temperature, weigh himself, record it, and have breakfast the caretakers knew. They asked him what cereal he wanted that day. He would have Heinen's blueberry muffin cereal. He loved his strawberry O's cereal from Trader Joe's, and he took water with his pills, only water, and then juice. He was a creature of habit. He would then read in the den. He would have it out in the post office to mail his donations to the cleaners, to drop, pick up his shirts, sit in the car when he would no longer do this. He was not able to longer go in the store with the helpers. He loved to sit outside in the back patio. Shelley and Melissa stayed with me. I'm so thirsty. I'm almost done. Shelley and Melissa stayed with me, and I will never be able to adequately express my gratitude. My gratitude. When I listened to hear my dad's heart, it was silent. Clarice was my first call. Shelley came to the house, as did Clarice, right at that time at 5:30 in the morning. They stayed with me until my dad was taken to the funeral home. He was prepared for that trip with so much dignity and respect. I will never forget that process of how he was prepared to be moved from his home. Well, Dad, in closing and in Fat Swaller style, your feet ain't hanging out that casket. Okay, and then I have one more thing I have to read, and it's called Hands and Heart. My friend wrote this poem, and I made it so it applies to all of us. 94 years in Cleveland, the hometown of Superman. He rivaled the superhero and lived a grand lifespan. He built a successful business and family with kind heart and sharp mind, and was a loving, present father, which is rare to find. They had moved to booming cities not too far, where city lights were their guiding star. Yet on many weekends to his home they'd make their way, to be by their father's side and share what they may. They loved their good times, his wisdom and laughter, his stories and antics that would linger long after. They'd escape the world as his fingers danced on piano keys, and they'd sing song as uplifting as the summer breeze. They cared for him, nurtured him, and rendered him aid. as his stellar life began to slowly fade. In his final days, as shadows crept, they held his hand and softly wept. Through exquisite moments of reverence and pain, they were bound by their love that never waned. Their voice gave him comfort in his final days as they sang to him softly in their gentle ways. 10 years past, his love had flown. His wife, his partner, was now heaven's own. Yet with his angelic children by his side, he faced the light with love and pride. Once his little children, they were now making him safe as they carried him through with eternal grace. In a quiet moment his life did cease as he transitioned to a heavenly place of peace. He knew they would never really be apart, for he would live on in their loving hearts. His legacy and their memories they'd embrace, and in their heart for him they'd always hold space. A picture of their clasped hands they shared, a testament of their infinite love unimpaired. Hands held from beginning to end through thick and thin, would hold forever, blessed deep within. I love you, Daddy.
Oh, you want to see? Wow. There's just one story real quick that my dad told me several times toward the end. I mean, recent that his happiest day at that time was when my brother and I were born. We're twins. So he said that he was all excited because people wonder, if they're going to have a boy or a girl. But he said he got a boy and a girl right off the bat, and he couldn't believe it, and he couldn't sleep, and he was going to neighbor's house, and he said it was the most exciting time. So that's a story that I'll always remember in my mind. So thanks.
Thank you.
His son Jim.
I just real quickly want to express sad living here. He's was the kindest man I've ever known, and I hope I can be half of what he was. And if it wasn't for my father, I wouldn't have Vivian, I wouldn't have Jacqueline, I wouldn't have Chad, I wouldn't have had Lauren. And one more thing that wasn't mentioned that needs to be, my cousin Rod and my cousin Ralph, Rod's wife Lisa was very involved with helping people that needed medical assistance, and if it wasn't for Rod's wife, we wouldn't know Shelley. So this is the root of it, and this is the great result of it, and I just wanted to say that. Thank you for being here.
Indians.
O God of life, amid the ceaseless tides of change which sweep away the generations, your love remains to comfort us and to give us hope. Around us are life and death, decay and renewal, the flowing rhythm that all things obey. Our life is a dance to a song that we cannot hear. Its melody courses through us for a little while, then it seems to cease. Whence the melody and whither does it go? In darkness, as in light, we turn to you, the source of life and the answer to all of life's mysteries. As you are able, I invite you now to rise for the El Mole Rachamim.
She can stay seated. She can stay seated.
El Mole Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, Im Kadoshim Utahorim Kazohar Harakim Azhirim, Et Nishmat Yakirenu Shahalach La'olamo, Bala Rachamim Yastireo B'Seter Kanafav La'olamim, Vayitzror Bitzror HaChayim Et Nishmato, Adonai G'nafalato V'yanuach V'Shalom Al Mishkavo V'Nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Richard Burk, our loved one who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say together, Amen. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The Spirit returns to God who gave it. It is only the house of the Spirit which we now lay within the earth. The Spirit itself cannot die. Receive in mercy, O God, the soul of our beloved departed Richard Burk. Grant him that everlasting peace which you have prepared for us in the world to come. Though no human eye has seen, nor ear has heard, nor mind has grasped it, still it is our sure inheritance and our everlasting portion. O God, help us to understand that grief and love go hand in hand, that the pain which loss inflicts is the measure of a love that is stronger than death. Though we cry in the anguish of our hearts, may we know that our Comforter is near, and may we cling unafraid to the trusted hand. In this spirit, O God, do we commit all that is precious to us to your keeping, as we now repeat the words that have been hallowed by our generations, the Kaddish, as we say together, Yit Gadal v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah v'Alma Divrach Hirutei v'Yamlik Malchutei v'Chayechon v'Yomeichon v'Chayedecha Be'Yisrael v'Agola v'Zman Kari v'Yemru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam alamei Maya Yit Barak v'Yishtabach v'Yitpa'ar v'Yitromam v'Yitnaseh v'Yitadar v'Yitaleh v'Yitalal Shmei D'Kudashah B'Richu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata v'Shirata Tushbechata v'Nechemata Da'amiram v'Alma v'Yemru Amen. Yehei Shalom Rabba Min Shemaya v'Chayim Aleinu v'Al Kol Yisrael v'Yemru Amen. Oseh Shalom b'Romav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu v'Al Kol Yisrael v'Yemru Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn among us, and comfort all the bereaved who are gathered here, and let us say, Amen. To the family we now say, may God console you with all who mourn among all the families of the earth. Now go forth in peace to life, and may God go with you. Amen. We're going to conclude our service now with the Richard